Whether you're looking for the best spot to view fall color or getting ready for deer hunting season, the Department of Natural Resources has a wealth of information to help you get out and enjoy the great outdoors. This week, I spoke with Sarah Strommen, the commissioner of the DNR, about the summer drought, forest management, and opportunities for public engagement. Every fall that we've spoken, I've asked you to give your assessment of the state's natural resources, and for the most part, that report has been really good. However, this year has seen some real challenges with wildfires and drought conditions across the state. In general, how have these difficulties impacted the state's natural resources?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy having the opportunity to talk to you in the fall and do a little recap of the year. And of course, fall is just one of the best times of year in Minnesota. And I think in terms of our natural resources, I would say Minnesota has abundant, diverse, and healthy natural resources. And that's really one of the things that defines our state and makes it the great place to live that it is. And our goal is really to keep it that way. We know that you mentioned drought and wildfires. We have long-term climate change happening that changes the way we look at our natural resources. We have issues like invasive species and disease like chronic wasting disease in our deer population. And so really, I think, our approach at the department is to manage those issues proactively and take a proactive stance towards protecting our natural resources so we can maintain that good state. And really, if you think about kind of the approach we're shifting to on chronic wasting disease, I think that is a great example. It's really one of prevention rather than response.
Nearly every part of the state is experiencing some level of drought, including the northern third, which is categorized as extreme or exceptional drought. Generally, what is the impact of drought on fish, game, and wildlife populations? And is it likely to impact those upcoming hunting seasons, some which have already begun for waterfowl, small game, and then the big deer hunting season, which is just around the corner?
Yeah, well, those are the questions everybody wants to know. And the reality is, in terms of what the impacts from drought will be to wildlife and fish species, it's not fully known at this time. The impacts can take some time to manifest. We know, of course, that drought can be particularly stressful to our fish populations, especially in the rivers where flow has been reduced as a result of drought or where temperatures have been increased. But the reality is, and particularly in the forested region of the state, we haven't seen a lot of impacts to date, not higher than normal fish kills. The lakes have been clear. And so because we haven't had the rain events. And so we're not seeing those. I think there are some concerns about food availability for some wildlife species, particularly deer and bear as a result of the drought. But in terms of the hunting seasons, we're still expecting hunting seasons to be good. Upland game bird hunting should be good, pheasants, grouse. Our whitetail deer herd is robust. And so we're predicting that there will be a good deer season. And I think one thing folks may want to note, and particularly for our waterfowl hunters, is the drought may impact access to your favorite spot because water is low. And so you'll definitely want to think about that. That's probably a bigger impact this year than you'll see on the wildlife itself.
Fortunately, fire danger is now low in most areas of the state, but the Greenwood fire last month in northern Minnesota took a big toll. Visitors had to leave the area. The smoke impacted us even here down in the Twin Cities. And then there were property owners who lost cabins and outbuildings and homes. Of course, fire is a natural part of forest ecology, but I wonder how the DNR is viewing, fire prevention, forest management, and is that view evolving as climate change conditions are potentially bringing in more situations where fires are likely?
Yeah, as you note, fire can offer many challenges, but it also is a natural part of our forest ecosystem, particularly in the northern part of the state. And so really, we continue to view it as such. We have for some time. I think we also have to keep in mind that in Minnesota, we have so many people that live within that forest landscape. And so we do also have to have a focus on fire suppression. And we manage fire suppression kind of with priorities in mind. And those priorities are life, property and resources. And so we have to take into account those life and property needs in that forest landscape, in addition to, managing the forest. So I think, that's one of our approaches in that we want to empower communities and landowners to develop forest stewardship plans. We have assistance to private forest landowners to meet both their environmental goals as well as reducing fire risk. We have a robust FireWise program, which helps landowners learn how to reduce the risk of fire damage from wildlife so that, again, we can manage that larger forest ecosystem with people in it. And I think, one of the things that we will have to keep in mind is, again, with climate change and with some of the invasive species that are creeping in, it will need to change. I mean, we've seen an incredible loss of and die-off of tamarack in our forests. We're facing emerald ash borer, and we have a lot of ash in our forests in Minnesota. And so thinking, again, proactively about how we manage those to keep a forested cover, but not have a lot of dead wood that is at greater risk of fire.
State park use increased dramatically during the COVID-19 pandemic. Are people continuing to visit parks in droves, and how are the parks holding up?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I was actually at Buffalo River State Park yesterday. It was a beautiful day to be there. And, they told me we are continuing to see strong numbers of visitors. And that's an interesting park because the attraction has been for many years, the pond there, the swimming pond. That's been closed the last few years, but they're really now getting the same number of visitors with hikers. And so, I really appreciate all the work that our park staff are doing to help welcome people and help them explore kind of new experiences in the outdoors. And that's really in line with one of our department goals of connecting people to the outdoors. Of course, we also have to make sure that those resources are holding up and that we're doing the job to steward them with more people. So one of the things we're doing is we're encouraging everyone to be good natured. We have a campaign that uses the hashtag Be Good Natured. It encourages people to leave no trace, take only photographs, leave only footprints, and make sure that we're not unduly impacting our resources. And then I think the other thing is we need to make sure that as a state we're investing in those resources so that those opportunities continue to be there for all the Minnesotans who want to enjoy them.
Well, and speaking of investing, the DNR has launched a campaign to engage with the public on what they love and value about Minnesota's outdoor heritage. It's the first step in a longer-term effort to find new ways to provide funding for the Department of Natural Resources. You told John Myers, a reporter for the Duluth News Tribune, that the DNR is struggling to tread water. What is the heart of the problem, and what do you want from Minnesotans?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about this initiative. It's really building on many years of conversation about how we fund conservation in the outdoors in Minnesota. And I think, a few things we've recognized about the way that we fund it. One is that, we're enjoying the benefits of investments, foundational investments that were made many years ago. And we're not, as a state, making those same level of foundational investments. And so we need to think about that. I think we also observe that while we're very fortunate and that Minnesotans are willing to pay for their outdoor experiences through user fees, licenses, we have the legacy funds, the lottery funds, the system wasn't developed to be a comprehensive funding system. And so while those sources are really important to pay for certain things, they don't pay for all of the work that we do, and particularly on some of the operations. And then third, we would observe that this funding framework that we have today is really backwards looking. And that's, I think, what was reflected in my conversation with John Myers, is that we go to the legislature and we ask for money to maintain the same level of service we had a year ago or 2 years ago, rather than asking for funding for the level of service we want. And so that's really what we're asking Minnesotans to do, is to engage with us in that conversation about what are the experiences, what are the amenities that we want in our outdoors and recreation and natural resources, and then find a funding framework that can fund that in a way that is comprehensive, sustainable, and forward-looking.
Commissioner Sarah Strommen, I want to thank you so much. It's always great to talk to you.
It's always great to talk to you too, Shannon. Thank you.